Welcome to another live Q&A from Holistic Home Journey. The way this works is you can submit questions in advance through the private community. And on Thursdays, I go live and I answer all the questions that have been submitted. We used to only take questions on Wednesdays and now ask on Thursdays, but now I leave the question box open all week. So as you think of things, you can add it there. And then usually on Thursdays, I answer live. Today's Friday. It's been a week. So we're going to dive right in. And if you want to watch the replay, make sure that you go and join the community. It's always posted in there. All right, first question is from Ireland. And Ireland says, I know you say that one of your two rules is no lying. How do you handle it when it happens? And how do you explain the importance of telling the truth? So it's like very deep, right? So like, how do we have a house rule that is no lying? It is literally integrated in our day-to-day. So it comes up, and I'm just going to think of lots of examples where this comes up. This is not like me one day going to my daughter and saying, hi, we don't lie in this house. Don't ever break that rule. It's like we condition everybody in the family that this is the way that we operate. Okay. So what that might look like is one time I forgot to put Zoe's seatbelt on in the car, and we're like driving, and all of a sudden she's like, Mom, I don't have my seatbelt on. And I pulled over and I put the seatbelt on for her. And she's like, we shouldn't tell Daddy, right? And I said, no, you can absolutely tell Daddy. We don't keep secrets in this house. We don't do lies. We don't keep secrets. Little things like that. You know how sometimes you might say, oh, don't tell Dad we went and got donuts today. Like, we don't do that. Everything is honest and everything is transparent, right? So there's no lying, there's no secrets. What else do we do? If I see that, like, I ask her something, hey, did you do this? Or hey, what happened here? If let's say I walk into a room and somebody's hurt, and I can see her kind of formulating in her brain, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to tell Mom? Because I don't want to get in trouble, right? I would tell her from such a very young age, you can tell me the truth. You're not going to get in trouble. And then you have to always act on that. Once they tell you the truth, you can't say, oh, well, I didn't know that was the truth, and now I'm going to punish you from this, or now I'm going to take away that, or now I'm going to change tones. They have to know that when they tell the truth, you are going to stay calm, help them work through it, teach them a lesson, maybe set up potential consequences for down the road and say, hey, if this continues, then we might have this problem. But they should never be reprimanded for telling the truth, because otherwise they just won't. They will not. And as much as you say, my kids always tell me things, and I'm telling you, as a person who didn't feel like I could go and tell my mom things, there was a lot that I hid. And that piece, and I know we're talking about like, how do we enforce no lying, but like, once your kid starts feeling like they have to hide things from you, it only gets worse as they get older. The things that they hide seem to get bigger and bigger. Your relationship gets farther and farther because that connection isn't there. So that's why I really like that rule. And then as far as like a consequence, right? So let's just say if she wasn't being honest. I'm trying to think if this came up. I don't think that it's come up, just because of how like we integrate it into the day-to-day, and like literally nothing that she tells me, even if it's like the weirdest thing or the grossest thing, or her friend did something that was wrong, or she did something that was wrong, like literally whatever she comes to me with, I don't react. I might think about it and then a couple of days later kind of bring it up and say in like a completely unrelated way to start setting boundaries around it or start educating her around it. But when she comes to me to tell me things, I do not say, ew, that's gross. Why would you do that? What the heck is wrong with you guys? I don't want you hanging out with her anymore. Like, I don't do it. Okay. But what would happen if she did lie? Trust is a big thing in our home. And so I would just say to her, hey, listen, I know that you're not being truthful with me right now. The two rules in our home is you cannot hurt people with your hands or with your words, and you cannot lie. And the reason for that is because I need to be able to trust you. If I cannot trust you to go do this thing that you were doing when you are lying. So maybe like she went to her friend's house and then she's lying about something that happened to her friend's house, right? Or she was playing in the backyard and then she was lying about something that was in the backyard. I would just say, if I cannot trust you to tell me the truth when I leave you there on your own, then I'm not going to be able to give you that freedom. The reason why you get these freedoms is because I know I can trust you. And when you give kids responsibility like that, I mean, we've been having these conversations with her since probably like seriously, like since she's around 3. And she's 5 now, and they will take that responsibility seriously. Um, you're treating them with respect and you're giving that, you're giving them a lot of power there. And so they're going to take that really seriously. Taylor says, my parents would come at me with a very accusing tone that made me want to lie. Yeah. And that's really important to mention too. Like, if you go to your kid and you're like, already accusing them and you're just like, what you do? Like, how many times have you like walked into a room and you see that like one kid is kind of like happily playing with a toy and the other kid is like crying on the floor and was like obviously hit, and you look at the kid who's like happily playing and you're just like, what did you do? Right? That kid, even if the kid did nothing, they're gonna look guilty and feel guilty, right? That's like, hey Jules, so you want to approach it in a little bit more of a neutral tone. Whoa, what happened in here? That's it. You're not going to get in trouble. I just need to know what happened. Oh, he took your toy and you hit him. Okay. Do you think that maybe there was a better way you could have handled that? I would probably address the kid that was crying first. But then, do you think there's a better way that you could have handled that? Okay, yeah, let's try that next time, okay? Because if I can't trust you in the room with your brother or with your sister, then you're going to have to stay with me when I'm doing the dishes, and that's not really much fun, right? And so you're getting the truth, right? So because what's more valuable to you, getting the child in trouble for making a bad decision, or getting the truth and handling it and not having a screaming match for the next hour in your house? My ex-stepmom was crazy. I literally hid anything and everything as a kid, tiptoeing around. Yeah, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling for the parent, and it's not a good feeling for the child. And from personal experience, you wind up navigating situations on your own that you probably wish that you could navigate them with a more experienced grown up. All right, why can't I pull up this one question? I don't know. All right, I'm going to move to the next question and figure this out later. Ooh, maybe if I do this. Nope. All right, whatever. Okay, so next question is from Amanda. Amanda says, I have a 5-year-old son and a 15-month-old daughter. I potty trained my 5-year-old when she was 3. When he was 3. And he was all the way pee trained and almost pooping on the potty. He regressed a little when she was born, which I expected, but in the last few months, it has gotten worse. We do respectful parenting, and I've tried so many things, but nothing is working. He told me the other day when I tried to talk to him about it, it was because he missed the attention he used to get before I had my daughter. Major mom guilt. Any help? First of all, I just want to tell you that is a major mom win, that your 5-year-old was able to articulate to you, I'm feeling like I'm missing this attention. I can listen to my body and feel my needs, and I'm telling you this need that I'm having. Okay, that is like major mom win. Okay, so Amanda, I want you to celebrate that. Okay, so how do we help? So child is 5 years old now. They were pretty much potty trained at 3, but now they're sort of regressing. You have a young child. Okay. What I would do is I would, first of all, have the conversation with your child. What will make you feel super special? What are some things that we can do together that's just me and you? And maybe make some index cards that you can put into a box somewhere, because sometimes we think of ideas and then we don't actually execute. Let's write down some things that we can do. My daughter loves to go to Petco and look at the fish and look at the cats, right? So we might run out during Emma's nap time and do that, or as soon as daddy gets off of work and do that. Maybe if you can't leave the house, maybe you can do a painting project or a craft or read a book while baby is napping. If baby doesn't nap, maybe you could have a portion of your day where 15-month-old does independent play or screen time or whatever, sits in the bathtub for 20 minutes while you are outside of the bathtub playing a card game or something else with the 5-year-old, right? Like, how can you like really put thought into it? So this child is coming to you and saying, I have this need, mom, and this need is so strong inside of me that I am wetting myself. I'm losing control of my body because I'm trying to get this need met, right? So I would take that very seriously. I would sit down with child. I would say, okay, let's think about how we can spend some time together. You're 5 years old. We really want to make sure that you can do pee pee in the potty, so, and then I would take away as much attention for the pee pee and the potty thing as possible. Not being cold, not reprimanding, not ignoring. Okay. But if he wets his bed, it's it's not like, oh, you wet your bed. Okay, come sleep in mama's bed. Okay, whatever. Yes, if it happens like once in a while, but this is an ongoing thing. He's using it. He's telling you he's using it to get the attention. So I would sort of take some of the attention away from that. Have backup sheets ready. Oh, you wet your bed? Okay, come on. Let's change your pajamas. Let's get these new sheets on. Okay, good night. I'll see you in the morning. Right? You're out somewhere. He does pee pee in his pants or whatever it is. Oh no, I'm sorry, honey. Now we have to go home. Let's go home. Let's change your pants. He's not in trouble for it. Not mad at him, but we're going to take away that massive attention that he gets around it, right? And we're going to replace that with these really intentional times that you are going to make sure that you're spending with him. You might also, and this works for my kids, just something to try. Especially Zoe. Zoe is like love language gifts all day long. Like if you come to my house, you better have something for Zoe. Like that's just, she's always been like that. And so for her, it always worked of like, come on, let's go to Walmart. Let's get you some new underwear. You can pick any underwear you want. Let's get you a cuddle doll so that next time you're really missing mom, but I have to be taking care of baby, you can cuddle it. And get some really good solutions there. But Amanda, you're doing a great job. And I love that he was able to come to you and tell you what was happening and what's happening in his body. That's really major. Okay, Ashley says, I just listened to yesterday's live and the part where you mentioned asking the child, how can I help? What can we do to fix this? I need a lot of help there. My daughter is 5.5, and anytime I ask her a question like that, honestly, it can be any question, the response is always, I don't know. Okay, so I don't remember what the question was that I was answering where I said this, but I do know that I say it. So like, let's say your child is struggling or I'm thinking this is where it came from. I'm sorry, Ashley, if I'm wrong, but your child is struggling with something or your child makes a mistake. And instead of just hopping in and fixing it for them, you can ask them questions, especially as they get older, 4, 5, 6. Do you need help? Don't just jump in and assume they need help. Do you need help? How can I help? What do you think we can do to fix this? And this also might be referring to behavior. So if a 5.5-year-old is struggling with behaviors, they're having a hard time in school, they're having a hard time going for bedtime, they're having a hard time cleaning up their toys. I also always suggest to ask the child, especially when they're older, 4, 5, 6 years old, like this, what can I do to help you? It seems like you've been having a really hard time getting to bed. What can I do to help you? And sort of give them some of that. So now Ashley is saying, well, what happens when I say that to my child? I'm telling her, hey, I'm supporting you. What can I do to help you? And the child is a little bit overwhelmed and the child is saying, I don't know. How do you then proceed? So first of all, it's not a weird thing for the child to be overwhelmed, especially if they're not used to that. If you have not like their whole life been telling them to sort of solve the problems and help solve the problems, and you've been kind of solving it for them, it's going to feel strange to them and they're going to feel fearful, sometimes even fearful of making the wrong decision, regardless of how you have treated them in the past for making decisions. And so it might be really overwhelming for them. They also have, their brains are still developing. They don't know what all of the options are, right? So there's like a million things that could be happening, but I don't want you to feel like more mom guilt or anything about that. So you say to your child's struggling with something, you say to your child, how can I help? How can we sort of like combat this issue that we're having? And your child says, I don't know. At that point, I would start to suggest some things. I would say, and I don't know if your kids watch Ada Twist Scientist, but I love the Brainstorm song. Love that show, but love the Brainstorm song. But I would just say, let's come over here and let's figure out some solutions. What if so let's just say that the issue is cleaning up toys. Hey, I noticed that you are having a really hard time with cleaning up. How can I help you through that? We do have to clean up every day. How can I help you to make this a little bit easier? And the child says, I don't know. And then you might say, okay, well, let's think of some ideas. What if instead of saying clean up, what if I tell you one thing at a time what needs to get cleaned up? So what if I say, okay, can you put all of the blocks away? Okay, can you put all of the dolls away? Would that work for you? No, I don't want you to tell me every single thing. Okay. What if every time after you're done playing with a toy, then you put that toy back? No, I don't want to do that thing. Okay. What if we set a 5-minute timer and you have to do a speedy clean for 5 minutes? That way it doesn't take so long. Maybe the kid's interested, right? Maybe they start to have some ideas, and ask them, do you have any ideas? Because now that their brain is spinning, they might have some ideas. And then whatever their ideas are, or whatever you come up with together, make sure that you put a real effort to try it. Even if they say something that's so ridiculous, Mom, I want to pick up 2 toys and then take a sip of water, and then pick up 2 more toys and then take a sip of water. Okay, if that's going to work for you, let's try it out. Try it out for a couple of days. If it's not working, then you come back to the child and you say, okay, listen, we seem to be having this issue. Is there something that I can do to help? We cannot continue this way. And you sort of start the process all over. And Ashley and anybody else, if you're in the community, drop some examples on the main community feed, because I would love to give you some input there. It's hard sometimes for me to know what's specifically going on in your life without kind of having some more background information. You also, if you're in the community, can always join me on these lives and turn on your Zoom and we can chat. I see some questions coming in from TikTok. I am going to get to them, I promise. I just want to address the questions that came in the community. Okay, Ashley. What I do is I tag you in the replay after I answer your question, if you're in the community. This one question from Amanda, why can't I? Oh, I got it. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I just don't want to get lost here because I'm a little off today. All right, perfect. So that is actually all of the submitted questions in the community. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to TikTok, and then if we run out of questions in TikTok, I will go back to some people who, oh, you know what? There's one more thread I just want to check. Hold on. Because I did this last week. I forgot to check. Sorry. Some people left questions on the actual event. Let me look here. I'm sorry. I want to just make sure that I get to everybody's. Commented on your post. Here it is, Christina. I knew I saw another question come through. Okay. Oh, there's some more on here too. Hold on. Okay. All right, so actually there's two questions here. Let me answer these and then I'll move to questions on TikTok. So Rosemary, let me get this question. Okay, so Rosemary says, hey, hi Rosemary. My 7-year-old is incredible at math. As we were watching number blocks, he said, Daddy is better at math than he is. I'm unsure if better is the correct term. I was always taught no one's better than anyone else. What are some other words to use, or am I crazy? So we teach a lot of growth mindset in our homeschool. Is that like one of our subjects in our homeschool is self-study and philosophy. And so we're working through growth mindset for kids. And it's not, I don't think, this is my opinion, it might not be like the official answer, okay? But I don't think it's bad for him to look and see, oh, Daddy's better at this than me. My 5-year-old does that all the time. Oh, you do this better. You're better at this. And so usually what I would say in that moment is I would say, yeah, Daddy's great to learn math from because he knows a lot of math. That doesn't make him better than you. That just means that he had a lot more practice than you had. If we keep practicing for the next 30 years, then I bet you're going to be just as good as math as Daddy is. And so that's kind of how I would handle it in my house. I wouldn't put too much weight on it. It's okay for children to observe. I would just say like, wow, that's a great observation. Daddy is really good at math. You know, if we keep practicing, we're going to be just like Daddy, or we'll be able to do that kind of math that Daddy's doing. All right, next question is from Christina. Okay, Christina says, one of the things I want to teach my kids is that bullying is not okay, or judging others because of looks, the clothes they have, etc. How would you start that journey? What do you say or tell your kids? Oh, I was going to make a video on this actually as soon as I'm done with this live. We were just in the Halloween store. This is like just an example, and then I'll actually answer you. We were just in the Halloween store, and near the registers, there's all of these pictures because I don't know the name of the program, but they're basically, there's some kind of like program where you can make a donation and it's for children with cancer. And so there's all pictures of children with various, medical conditions. I don't know what the actual thing is. I'm sorry. But there was one picture of a girl that had like a tube taped into her nose. I don't know what the tube was for. It could have been oxygen. It could have been a feeding thing. I honestly don't know. But it was a tube that went in her nose and around her cheek, and it was all like taped up. And Zoe, 5 years old, looks at the picture, points at it, okay, and we talk about this stuff, and I'm going to tell you how we talk about this stuff, and goes, look, Mom, ew. And I think the key in those moments is not to shame them, okay, but to teach them, okay? So when she is looking at this and she's looking at somebody's body or face or whatever that looks different than hers, and she goes, ew, I'm not going to shame her. That's going to make her shut down. Instead, I'm going to say, do you know what that is? And she'll say, no. Well, then how do you know that it's gross? Well, what is it? And so I said, this is a tube because she has a medical condition. There's nothing gross about it. This is helping her to keep her body healthy. And then I say, next time when you see somebody's body that looks different than yours, we don't want to say ew or make comments like that. That's not being very kind. What we can do instead is we can ask questions. What is that? Why do you have that? And also, you teach understanding that people's bodies look different. We do the same thing like the first time that she saw somebody in a wheelchair. The first time she saw somebody in a wheelchair, I'm not even kidding you, I had a freaking anxiety attack in Walmart because my daughter sees somebody riding on a wheelchair and starts going, wee, wee, like it's still a joke to this day. I'm like, you remember that day when I was mortified at Walmart? But then we say, oh yeah, that does look really fun to have a wheelchair. Again, it's embarrassing, mortifying for me, but they're just observing their environment. So I was like, yeah, that wheelchair does look really fun. And then she asked me like, why does people have wheelchairs? And we talked about it. Same thing when somebody got out of the pool and we realized that they had one leg. Mom, that lady only has one leg. Zoe says to me. And I said, well, do you think that it's kind to laugh at people for how their bodies look? No. I said, okay. So if you have a question about why she has one leg, we can talk about it. I said, people have one leg for so many reasons. And I just sort of try to normalize it, normalize it. So what? Her body looks different than yours. Do you want somebody to comment on your body? No. Everybody's body looks different. And I think just like introducing them to that, not making it a shameful thing, not making it a taboo thing when they notice differences, right? Same thing like when we said that the child before this, the 7-year-old, like noticed that his dad was better at math, right? It's okay for them to notice things. It's okay for Zoe to notice that she has two legs and she's looking at somebody who has one. It's okay for her to notice that she doesn't have to have medical device taped to her face, but somebody else does. That is fine to notice. We want to normalize that bodies always look different, and it's okay if bodies look different. There's nothing wrong with that body. There's nothing better about your body. And then with the bullying, yeah, I think it's the same thing, like just teaching them how to interact with people. If you are around somebody who is making fun, like sometimes you might just be around a group of people and your child's not doing it, but somebody else is making fun of somebody, you need to sort of like step up and say, that's not really kind to speak about people that way. We're going to go over here because we don't do that. We don't speak about people that way. And really just modeling that. Okay, so I think that's all the questions that came from the community. So I will go and answer a couple of questions from TikTok. If you want to guarantee that your question is answered, make sure that you join the community. You can put your question either on the live Q&A thread, or you can put it on the main main feed. Sorry. Today, guys, I am like, there's nothing wrong. I feel like I have like 1 million things in my brain. I just need to like do a major brain dump. Okay, my youngest has been growling at me a lot instead of speaking. Hold on. How old is that child that is growling? Always, if you could include your child's ages, is very helpful. I just want to put your questions in here because you can actually search in the community, so people can search for like what we were talking about so they can get their answers. The community is linked in my bio. I put like all my TikToks in there, sorted by topic. I do live Q&As in there. I answer every single question personally that comes in through the main feed. Usually it takes me a day or so, just because it's a lot, but I answer every question personally. We support each other. We have a book club, all kinds of things. Okay, let me scroll back to this. My youngest has been growling at me a lot instead of speaking for himself, for his needs, so I have been struggling. Okay, the way that I handle this when my children start, I don't necessarily know if mine like growled, but I know like they would sometimes whine, or Zoe went through a phase where like she had a full vocabulary. She could communicate everything, but she went through this phase where she would just point and go, It freaking triggered me so much, I swear to God. And basically the way that I handled it is I just said, I can't understand when you make these noises. If you need something, you can ask for it. And that's it. And then if they want their need met and they have the vocabulary, or they have to know how to ask for what they want, then that's it. I'm not going to ignore you, but I am going to tell you, I don't understand. Even if the water cup was here and she's going like this, I would say, I need for you to use your words. I cannot understand what you're asking me for. When they're little, like Emma is 22 months almost, yes, she doesn't have the full vocabulary. If she's pointing at something, I'm going to help her with vocabulary. Oh, you want water? Okay, fine. 5 years old, 4 years old, they have the vocabulary. I'm not going to do that. And so that way they have to do the communication. What do you do for meltdowns for a 5.5-year-old? I really want to work on having my boys respect me rather than just ignore me all the time and being stressed. So, I just want to see if you're okay. What do you do for meltdowns with a 5.5-year-old? Let me put this on the list here. So, meltdowns will happen less as the child learns to communicate more, as you give them more control, as you give them more respect, as the overall tone in your house starts to get less stressful. Meltdowns, so like, and sometimes meltdowns can be from nowhere, sometimes meltdowns can come from a tantrum, right? A tantrum is like, I want that water, mom's not giving me that water, and I'm going to try to get my way. Meltdown is like, my feelings are so big right now, I cannot control my mind, my body, nothing, I'm kicking, screaming, I can't get myself out of this, right? And so children often reach meltdown when they feel out of control, when they feel a lot of stress. So if there is like yelling and things like that going on in the house, if the child is not feeling like they have choices and control, then those meltdowns will happen more frequently. In the middle of a meltdown, what you can do to help the child is practice some calming techniques. Now, outside of tantrum and meltdowns, we want to be teaching these techniques. Okay, the middle of a meltdown is not the time to start teaching them belly breathing. Okay, but if you've done any work to teach them calming techniques, you can do things like taking a deep breath. Come take a deep breath with me. Where I see you're so frustrated about this, you're so upset about this. We're going to come back to it, but come take a walk with me for a minute. Come on, let's go play with your favorite toy for 5 minutes and then we'll come back to this, okay? Don't invalidate it. Don't say, all right, come on, we're done with this. Let's move on. Let them know that we're still going to go back to it, but let's like regulate. Try to stay regulated yourself. They're going to feed off of your energy. So if your energy is dysregulated and mad at them and, up here, that's where they're going to be. If you can calm your energy, they will start to match that. They will start to learn, oh, this is how we handle stress in our house now. We don't yell when things are stressed. We don't throw fits when things are stressed. We can communicate. And when I communicate, I am being heard. A big thing, I'm going to write this down because I want to make sure that I do a video on this. It's been like on my brain for days. Like preventing sort of tantrums and meltdowns. If a child feels like they're only heard when they tantrum or meltdown, they're going to continue to do it. So like the number one way to stop or reduce tantrums and meltdowns is to seriously listen to what your kids are communicating before they reach that place. So if your child is trying to go outside and you're just sort of like ignoring it, or you're brushing it off, or you're just like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do this, right? Now the child all of a sudden goes in full tantrum and you're like, all right, whatever, just go outside. And you open the door and they go outside. Guess how they're going to get to go outside next time? Instead, you can say, okay, cool, let's go outside for like 2 minutes. We'll stand on the porch really quick. Or, let's just open the door. We can't go outside, but we can open the door for 5 minutes. And that way they feel a little bit of control. They feel like they're being heard before they get to that meltdown stage or that tantrum stage. I need help with like over talking and bickering at my kids. Sometimes it's hard to work with them when they try to get their way. I want more respect in the house. I want my children to listen to mom. All right, you're not going to like my answer, but I'm going to tell you. And I know you guys know I don't sugarcoat things, and that is out of love and out of, if we keep it transparent, we will be able to grow a lot quicker. So first of all, here's a couple of notes, okay? So a couple of things to consider. Listening to you and respecting you are two different things. Your child can respect you and also have their own feelings, wants, needs, desires, ideas. I'm writing that down too, so I can not do a video. So listening to you, if you're like, I need you to put your dishes in the sink right now, and the child doesn't jump and do it, and the child says, well, I'm doing this other thing right now, that is not listening. It's not respecting. They can still respect you as their parent. You can still ultimately have that control. You can still ultimately say, okay, I see that you're doing that. After you're done with it, then can you put your bowl to the sink? Yeah, sure. That's not, that interaction there is respect. Having that communication is respect. Respect is mutual. When children start to feel respected, they will show respect. And so the part of the answer that I say you're not going to like is, we say, help me. My kids are fighting tooth and nail to get what they want. They are yelling, they are screaming, they are fighting, they are bickering, they are wearing me down. I just want them to do what I want. I am yelling and screaming and punishing and bickering because I want what I want. Right? So you're actually doing the same thing. You're over here saying, I want this, and they're over here saying, I want that. And you're both using the same techniques that are standard in your household to get there, right? Whether it's yelling, punishing, bickering, throwing, attitude, whatever it is. So something has to change there, okay? And it cannot be the kids. They are looking to you to model the behavior. So what you have to start to show them is, and to learn, and I highly urge you to join the community. I will be doing some deep dives, and I think this is a really good one to start with. They need you to start modeling, how do I get what I want? A couple of things. How do I get what I want without yelling, screaming, tantruming, bickering? Okay. And also, how do I handle not getting exactly what I want because I am interacting with other humans that want for other things? So like, you have to be okay with not getting exactly what you want. You have to be okay with compromise. You have to be okay with saying, I want these dishes done right now, and being respectful enough with your children to say, okay, well, we can do dishes in 10 minutes when you're done playing your game, right? That's how you earn the respect. That's how you teach them that you can't always get exactly what you want, when you want, how you want it, right? And then they will start to reciprocate that, and they're going to do it because you're modeling that behavior, because you're learning to calm yourself, you're learning to regulate yourself, you're learning to release control. And so the whole tone of the household goes from here to like, you know, and it might go in phases, right, down to here. And depending on the ages of the children, you might even say to them, hey, listen, I've been noticing this is going on in our home. This is really stressful. These are the changes that I want to make because I want to help make it better. And kind of go from there. Tristan, I do have coaching options. I used to do one-on-one coaching. I can still do one-on-one coaching, but I much rather do like masterminds. So it's usually like a group of 4 or 6 moms. And that way we're really diving in and helping each other. Like, we're really active together. You get access to me, you get coaching from me, but we can also do sort of like round tables and talk about what works for different families, because I'm not the end all be all of like, this is definitely going to work for your home. Sometimes you have to try different things, you know? So I do have the coaching options. Teenagers, especially, I'm trying to see this. My fiance tells me to disengage, but I'm in it before I even know it. So you're saying like, okay, your teenagers, let's say like having attitude or not listening, or you're feeling disrespected. And so like you're sort of like reacting to that, and you're both being disrespectful and rude to each other, and you're, fighting however you fight in your house. And your fiance is kind of like, well, just disengage, just don't give him that attention, which I would agree with, right? Like don't feed into it. Like, listen, I'm sorry, I'm not going to communicate with you that way, especially with a teenager. I'm that communication style doesn't work for me. So when you can sit down and have a conversation, we'll do that. But I'm going to go make some tea. You want some tea? If you want some tea, we can sit and have tea, but I'm not going to do this. But you're saying like, I'm so far in it, I want to give you a little piece of motivation, okay? And this could go for whatever it is, even if you're in the middle of giving a 2-year-old a punishment, or you're in the middle of that argument, like we're talking about with the teenager. Like literally at any second, you can just stop. And it doesn't make you weak, and it doesn't make you, crazy, and it doesn't make you anything except for learning how to regulate. Okay. You can literally just in the middle of that, like crazy, you can just say, I'm sorry. I know I'm at fault here for bringing it to this level, but I need to step away. You can say that. You could even say, after things calm down, because I don't believe in giving in to things in that heated moment. But you can also say, after things cool down, you know what? I know I told you you couldn't wear that Halloween costume, but when I think about it, you're in charge of your body. If you're comfortable in that Halloween costume, sure, you can wear it. And guess what? It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't mean that they walk all over you. It doesn't mean that they don't respect you. It means that you are teaching and modeling regulation and mutual respect, and that you are also willing to model that people make mistakes. And I think that those lessons are very important. All right, I can probably take like one more question. And then if you have more questions, make sure that you join the community. I need coaching too bad. Yeah, if you check out I think it's up already. You might have to be a member already of the community, and then you can see that. So like once you're a member of the free community, then you'll see it says like exclusive mastermind. How old is your son, Christina? Christina's asking, how do I break my son from my phone? How do I break my son from my phone? This is going to be my last question. Any other questions you can go and ask in the community. So breaking habits that you've already permitted. So her son is 3. How do you get him off of your phone? Kind of like addicted to the phone. How do you do that? Okay. It's very hard once you've already allowed a certain habit to become a habit. I'll tell you what, it's bad. As soon as I walk in the door, he's trying to take it out of my pocket. Okay, so once it's already been allowed, maybe in the beginning it was cute, maybe in the beginning it gave you and your husband or your spouse a chance to connect when you first got home. Maybe you used to come home and give it to him as a bonding moment. Who knows? Whatever it is, right? It somehow became this habit. It became ingrained into the day. And so it's going to be really hard to pull them out of that. So I would say as frustrating as it is, try to just understand that there's other pieces that are sort of accountable for it too, not the 3-year-old. The 3-year-old is being a 3-year-old, right? So you walk through the door, your 3-year-old is going up to you, trying to grab the phone. I'm sorry, we don't do phone time right now. Have some designated times. If you're okay with him using your phone at all, have some designated times that phone time is okay. Maybe it's when he first wakes up, maybe it's right after dinner, maybe there's a piece in the afternoon, but have some times that are consistent phone times where he can have the phone. And then that way you can tell him, oh, we're not going to have the phone right now, we can have it later. 3 years old, depends on his language, if he's going to understand that or not. But the other thing is I would try to sort of replace those habits. Like, what is something else that you could do when you first get home that will be exciting and that will break that habit for him? Maybe as soon as you get home every day, you sit down and do writing with him or coloring with him or blocks with him. Maybe when you first get home, you uh, go for a walk, whatever. Try and break the habit that way. Somebody is saying I set 2 hours a day for my son and did a countdown on a whiteboard in the kitchen. It's worked so well. Yeah, in my house, what I have is my kids have their own iPads. And I have timers on their iPads. So they get like 1 hour of YouTube, 1 hour of games, and one hour of like educational stuff. They don't always use 3 hours a day, but that's what's available to them. So like if they've used an hour of YouTube, now their options are to go to one of the games or whatever. And that's worked really well for us so that they can kind of like regulate themselves. Kahoot, I don't know what that means. I've been trying this already, so I'll keep it up and see. I know it will take time. It will take time. He's very smart. He rarely doesn't understand what I'm saying. He probably, if that's the case, he probably understands. It's probably just really frustrating. Maybe what you could do too is find something that you're okay with on the phone. I know, like, so you're saying that he's addicted to YouTube. That's like a real thing, you know. Actually, even today, I had a conversation with my 5-year-old because we went to the gym and then we were driving to the Halloween store, and Zoe's like, "Mom, I just want to go home." I'm like, "Oh, you feeling okay?" She's like, "Well, I just want to go home and do iPad time." And so I'm like, "Well, when you start adjusting your day for your screen time, then that's when we start to know that screen time might be a problem. It's okay to like your iPad, it's okay to do iPad time, but we don't change up our day to do iPad time." And so it's like having those conversations. But maybe you can say, you know, maybe you can put limits. Like I put only YouTube Kids, and there's only certain shows that they can watch. Like I manually approve each channel that they can watch. Um, Maybe you can say you can use my phone, but we're only using this game. Do you know the guided access? You know how to do the guided access? Because that's like a lifesaver. The screen time thing is really hard. It really is hard, but it will take time. I would just I've tried YouTube's Kids, I have that, and that resulted in a meltdown. Okay, so let's say you put on YouTube Kids, you select only the channels that you are okay with, like Blippi and whatever, I don't know, whatever your Sesame Street, okay? Then you put on guided access. And if you don't know what that is, you can click the home button 3 times and you put on guided access. It locks them in the app so they can't go and like call somebody or do something else. And then they have a meltdown, right? So you're saying he has a meltdown. This is where you can hold a boundary. It's okay for you to have a meltdown. It's okay if you're frustrated. This is how you can use my phone. If you don't want to use it like that, he tries to get it off, but he doesn't know my password. Yeah, I mean, I would keep it that way and just this is how you can use the phone. Did you want the phone or you don't want the phone? No, blah blah blah. I don't want to do this. You have to unlock it. Whatever. I'm sorry, I'm not unlocking it. Throwing a tantrum, throwing a tantrum. Okay, I'm gonna take the phone over here so it doesn't break, and I'm gonna sit right here. If you need some help with your big feelings, I can help you. But we are not going to switch out of that app right now on the phone. And the less control you like, the less power you give to those tantrums that he's having, the less you say, all right, whatever, I'll just put in the password, or fine, what other game do you want to play? The tantrums will get less and less because he's understanding, listen, mom's giving me, this is the way that I'm allowed to use the phone. If I try to use it a different way and I have a meltdown, it doesn't get me what I want. So I'm just going to use it this way, or I'm going to decide to do something else. It is hard though, and it does take time for sure. But I would just choose what your boundaries are. And for kids, it's much easier if you give them some consistency. So like if you say, you can always use the phone for half an hour when you wake up and a half an hour before bed or whatever. So that way they know it's not just like arbitrary, like whenever you think that they can have the phone, they can have it. And it's not like always up to just your feelings. That sometimes makes them feel a little bit more secure. That way they're not like almost like anxious when they ask you because you might say yes, you might say no. They will know if it's phone time or not phone time. Um, so just doing that, deciding what your boundaries are. There's no phone, like in my house, like there's no iPads at the dinner table. We don't take iPads out with us. So you're not getting iPad or phone or anything in the store. I don't care if you're having a tantrum. I think that kids need to learn how to be in public places. You're not getting it at the restaurant. You're not getting it at the store. You're not, you know, we just don't do that. If we're out at the pool or an amusement park or a park, you're not sitting on your iPad. You can sit and be bored, but you're not sitting on your iPad. Like those are boundaries that I have in my house. And so once you decide what your boundaries are, just always enforce them, even when it's really hard. He's more draining than a 10-month-old. That's funny. Sometimes I feel that too in my house, like the older one, because they're so smart and they want for so many things. And everything, like in my home anyway, like I set it up this way. I want it this way, where most things are a conversation. Most things are a negotiation. Like she's able to say to me, "Hey, I don't really want to do that." And we can have a conversation about it. And sometimes when people hear that, I think they're thinking that like I sit down with my kids and I talk to them for like 3 hours about every single decision that gets made. Like these things are happening within 30 and 60 seconds. Hey mom, can I want to, hey Zoe, go do this. Oh, can I do this first? Okay, sure, that's reasonable. Or no, I'm sorry, we don't have time. Come on, let's go. It's like literally like 15, 30 seconds. Okay, that is the end of questions. If anybody else has questions, please go in the community, ask in there. I'm going to take a little breather and then I will be in the community just like answering questions that came through. I know that some stuff came in yesterday. Do I have a blog or anything? I have the community. So the community has, I'm building out like a TikTok archive. It's pretty new, but I'm building out the TikTok archive. Actually, let me just end this here and then I'm going to, all right, bye. You already know about the community because you're in here.